All right, let's talk about that warning light that makes your heart sink. Steering assist is reduced. If you've ever seen this pop up on your dashboard, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Especially if you're a GMC or a Chevy owner, this message might be a little too familiar. It flashes on and your mind just starts racing, right? What's wrong with my truck? Is it safe to drive?
Okay, first things first, take a deep breath. This is actually a super common issue, and understanding what's going on is the first step to getting it fixed. So let's dive in and break it all down.
Here's our game plan. We're going to start with what that message really means. Then we'll get into how power steering even works. After that, we'll talk about the most important first step, getting the error code. Then we'll hunt down the usual suspects. And finally, figure out the right fix.
So, first up, let's decode this thing. What is your vehicle actually trying to tell you when this warning light comes on?
At its core, this message is a heads up that there's a problem with your car's electric power steering system. And because steering is, a pretty critical safety system, your car makes sure you can't miss this warning. So what you'll feel almost instantly is the steering wheel getting super heavy. You haven't lost the ability to steer completely, but that power assist, it's gone. The system basically shuts down the electronic boost to protect itself, which means you're now doing all the muscle work. It's a failsafe, but man, it makes the car way harder to handle, especially when you're trying to park or make slow turns. Okay, so what is this system that's causing all the drama? Let's pop the hood, so to speak, and see how this whole electric power steering thing works. So unlike older cars that used messy hydraulic fluid, your vehicle has what's called an electric power steering system, or EPS for short. It's a smart system that uses an electric motor and a bunch of sensors to make turning the wheel feel like a piece of cake. But here's the key, because it's electric, it absolutely depends on getting clean, stable power to do its job.
Okay, you've seen the warning, you've got the gist of the system, so now what? Well, let's talk about the single most important first move you need to make to solve this puzzle. Before you even think about buying a single part, you have got to scan your car's computer for what are called diagnostic trouble codes, or DTCs. You can get your own little scanner, or here's a pro tip. Most auto parts stores will scan it for you for free. These codes are the breadcrumbs that will lead you right to the root of the problem. And once you have those codes, it's like having a treasure map. They point you directly to the most common reasons why that steering assist is reduced warning decided to ruin your day. And this is where it gets really interesting. The codes can seem totally random at first, like a P0128 code. That points to your engine's coolant temperature. What does that have to do with steering? Well, a lot, it turns out. A U0100 code often flags a battery issue, and a C0561 code gets right to the point. It's likely a bad torque sensor right inside the steering system. And when you look at the data, a really clear pattern emerges. See this? Battery and low voltage problems make up a huge chunk, about 30%. But the number one culprit, by a long shot, is a faulty torque sensor. We're talking nearly half of all cases. Now, if those first few codes don't crack the case, there are a few other usual suspects to check out. It could be a failing alternator that's not pumping out enough juice, the main computer module for the steering might have gone bad, or it could even be something as simple as a loose connection or corroded wire. All right, we've done our detective work, we've got our list of suspects. Now for the most important part. What's the fix? Let's talk about what you can do yourself versus when it's time to call in the pros. So the good news is some of the initial checks are definitely in the DIY category. You can test your battery and charging system, take a look at the fuses, and check for any obvious damage to the wiring. But when it comes to actually replacing sensors, swapping out the main control module, or the big one, replacing the entire steering assembly, yeah, that's a job you're going to want to leave to a mechanic you trust. And here it is, the single most important piece of advice I can give you. Before you spend a single dollar, you have to check for recalls or something called a technical service bulletin. Seriously, GM knows this is an issue, and they've actually extended the warranty for this exact problem on a bunch of models. Your repair might be totally covered. Always, always check first. So, by breaking this down, you've turned that moment of panic into a clear action plan. You're not just a driver anymore, you're an empowered owner who knows how to tackle a problem head on. The next time a warning light pops up, you'll know exactly where to begin, won't you?